Have you ever really thought about where the complex chemicals we use to protect our food actually come from? You'd probably think they're cooked up from scratch in some high-tech lab somewhere. But the truth is way more interesting than that. See, most of these modern marvels aren't new inventions at all. They are brilliant copies, reverse-engineered from nature's own ancient chemical arsenal. Okay, let's dive into this scientific detective story.
First things first, we've got to clear up a huge misunderstanding that fuels so much of the debate around this topic. This whole idea of synthetic versus natural. The myth is that these crop protection products are purely artificial, created out of thin air. But the reality is that most of them are actually chemically beefed up versions of molecules that already exist out there in nature. Plants, fungi, microbes, they perfected these defense mechanisms over millions of years. Modern chemistry just figured out how to make them tougher for our own use.
So to really get to the bottom of this, here's our game plan. First, we're going to uncover nature's secret blueprints. Then we'll get into the middle of the high-stakes evolutionary arms race that created them in the first place. We'll follow the journey from field to factory, open up some of nature's chemical case files, and finally, look at why the future is totally bio-inspired.
Okay, let's start with clue number 1. The big idea here is that science didn't invent these incredibly precise ways to handle pests. It discovered them. They're nature's blueprints, perfected through literally millions of years of trial and error, just sitting there, waiting to be found.
So, if nature created all these blueprints, the next question is, why? Why would plants and microbes bother creating such potent, complicated chemicals? Well, it all boils down to a massive, high-stakes battle for survival that's been going on for hundreds of millions of years.
Just try to see it from a plant's point of view for a second. You can't run away from a hungry insect. You can't hide from a fungus that wants to move in. You're literally a sitting duck. So what's your only option? You fight back with chemistry. And that kicked off the greatest research and development program in the planet's history, evolution. The plants that happened to create effective toxins survived. They passed on those genes and over time created this enormous library of powerful biochemical weapons.
And this whole evolutionary process, it was unbelievably clever. It basically followed 3 key rules. First, natural selection meant only the absolute best chemical defenses made the cut. If it didn't work, it was gone. Second, these compounds became incredibly specific. We're talking like a key designed for a single lock, hitting exact targets like an insect's nervous system or its ability to breathe. And third, what we do in modern agronomy is essentially just biomimicry. We're copying these winning strategies. We're not inventing new ways to attack pests. We're just learning from the original masters and scaling up their greatest hits.
Okay, so we've established that nature is a brilliant chemist. But this leads us to the big puzzle for human chemists. See, nature's molecules are often incredibly powerful, but they can also be super fragile. So the question becomes, how do you take this amazing but delicate natural compound and turn it into a tough, practical tool that can be used in large-scale farming?
And this diagram just perfectly shows the elegant 3-step process they use. Step 1, you find the natural prototype. A classic example is pyrethrins from daisy flowers. They're fantastic at paralyzing insects, but they fall apart really fast in sunlight. So, on to step 2. Chemists study that molecule's structure and design a synthetic analog, basically a copy with a few strategic tweaks to make it way more stable. And the result is step 3, an industrial product, like the pyrethroids we use today, which keeps the original's knockout punch but has way better photostabilization and lasts a whole lot longer out in the field.
Now, the story of pyrethrins isn't some one-off thing. This whole process of discovery, copying, and improving has happened over and over again. To really see the proof, let's open up a few more of nature's chemical case files.
This chart gives us a fantastic bird's-eye view. The blueprints for crop protection don't just come from pretty flowers. No way. They come from all corners of the natural world, from plants like the Dalmatian daisy and the tobacco plant, to fungi and microbes living in the soil, and even, get this, from animals like marine worms. Each one holds a different chemical secret.
Let's start with the nerve agents. This slide's key and lock analogy, it's spot on. Natural alkaloids from plants like the daisy or tobacco act like a very specific key that fits perfectly into the lock of an insect's nervous system, shutting it down. So what did chemists do? They studied that key and built a synthetic master key, things like pyrethroids and neonicotinoids, that does the exact same job, just often more effectively and for a lot longer.
But nature doesn't just go after the nervous system. Some plants are way sneakier. They practice a kind of hormonal hacking. The balsam fir tree, for instance, produces a compound that mimics insect juvenile hormone.
which basically traps the pest in its larval stage so it can never grow up and reproduce. Other plants have compounds that totally mess with an insect's ability to molt. These discoveries were the inspiration for synthetic insect growth regulators, which are a much more selective way to control pests by messing up their life cycle without harming other creatures. Now let's zoom way in, down to the microscopic world. A tiny fungus, just fighting for its own patch of territory, produced a compound to keep its competitors away. This natural fungicide was potent, but unstable, so scientists copied its structure to create synthetic strobilurins, which are now one of the most successful classes of fungicides on the planet. And they did pretty much the same thing with a soil bacterium, which gave us a powerful family of compounds called ivermectins, fantastic for controlling insects and mites.
This table really just lays it all out, clear as day. You can see the direct family tree in each case, from the Dalmatian daisy's pyrethrins to synthetic pyrethroids that attack nerve channels, from the tropical Ryannia plant's muscle-paralyzing compound to its modern synthetic cousin. The natural source provided the brilliant blueprint, and science just built a more durable house.
And sometimes, the blueprints come from the most unexpected places. This is one of my favorite stories. Scientists were studying a neurotoxin used by marine worms for self-defense. They figured out what the active component was, reverse-engineered its structure, and created a highly effective synthetic analog called benzoyltap. I mean, from the bottom of the ocean to a farmer's field, that is an absolutely incredible journey of discovery.
So, after looking at all this evidence, from daisies to marine worms, we've pretty much proven that modern chemistry is standing on the shoulders of giants, the evolutionary genius of nature. But what does this all mean for the future of farming? What this amazing map of the insects shows is just how precisely synthetic chemistry is copying nature's attack points. Whether it's going after the nervous system, stopping growth, paralyzing muscles, or shutting down energy production, every single one of these elegant strategies was first developed, tested, and perfected in nature's own lab. And this brings us full circle. Since our best synthetic products are really just modified natural molecules, it makes total sense that modern farming is starting to return to the original source. There's a huge trend now towards using refined plant extracts and biopreparations directly. So the future isn't about ditching science, it's about using science to more wisely apply the lessons that nature already taught us, creating more balanced, sustainable, and often cheaper tools for modern eco-conscious farming. So, the next time you think about crop protection, remember the daisy, the fungus, and yeah, even the marine worm. It leaves you with this one final, fascinating question. Nature's R&D lab has been open for business for billions of years. What other incredible, life-changing blueprints are still out there, just waiting for us to find them?